Hello. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about different tools that we can use to help us change the world, and then I'm going to tell you which tools I think are most important and why. So first, I'm going to talk about strengths. I think that strengths are things that people are inherently good at without really having to try. These are really important because they come easily to us without us having to put in a lot of effort. I think building on these strengths is crucial to applying them in a way that is effective to help a team environment solve a problem. And a way that you can build on these strengths is by first becoming aware of them, which I think a lot of us aren't necessarily aware of the things that we're good at just because it's part of our personality. So a way that you can realize or become aware of your strengths is by asking someone who's close to you, whose opinion you trust. So that's strengths. Perspectives. So perspectives are formed from the total collection of your life experiences or interactions and connections that you've formed with people, places that you've traveled to, things that you've experienced. Basically, it's totally experience-based, and it affects sort of every other tool on this list because it's the lens through which you perceive problems, and it's also your perspective to an extent is out of your control just because there's so many things that we go through, like how we were raised, the parents we have, the household dynamics that we grew up in, to have a huge impact on our perspective, yet that's sort of out of our control. And I think that when we combine individual perspectives, sort of like in a group setting, when we are able to combine these different perspectives, that's when we come up with the most sustainable and effective solutions, just because I don't think there are two people with the exact same perspective. So when we get everyone's input and perspective, that's how we're able to solve problems in the most effective way. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is skills. I think skills are something that you make an effort to improve upon or to manifest and develop. These can be tangible and intangible, and they are hugely beneficial once you develop skills. It's something that you can bring to the table, that you made effort and put energy towards becoming good at. And these skills are something that are subject to change. You can get better at a certain skill, or you can get worse, I guess. But it's always something that you can improve upon just by taking the time and putting forth the effort. The next thing I'm going to talk about is capacities. Capacities, I think, are sort of someone's potential, but I also think that there can be a definition about regarding capacities that is more logistically based. So what is able or not able to happen realistically, what is within reasonable capacity of happening, and I think that it's important to keep that in mind, because while dreaming big and having these huge dreams and ideas is important, we also shouldn't lose focus of the fact that we want to create solutions that are actually viable and can be realistically implemented. So capacities can sort of be used from that perspective. But I also don't think capacities should be used as a limiting factor. While it's important to think about the limitations and constraints that we face, I think it's equally as important to be ambitious about confronting and pushing against these boundaries and sort of challenging what people say is possible, but also keep sight of what is possible also. So it's all about balance. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is competencies. I think competencies are when you have mastered and sort of perfected and maximized your skills, capacities, and strengths. So it's when you have effectively developed all the other tools I talked about before, you are competent at them then. And it's when you can confidently bring forth a strength or a skill that you have because you're competent in it. You have mastered it. The next thing I'm talking about is disposition. Disposition to me means the willingness to do something, that you care enough about the problem to put forth the effort to then bring your skills, competencies, and strengths to the table. So you need to have disposition before you can use any of the other tools. So this brings me to my next point, which are the ones that I think are most important towards changing the world. And I think perspective is incredibly important because it affects all the other tools that we talked about. And just because it's not really within our control, we can change our perspective through empathy and compassion and like trying to imagine what someone else's perspective is like. But at the end of the day, so much of our perspective is formed by things that we don't really have control over, yet it affects us so much. The other one that I think is really important is disposition, just because if you don't have the willingness to try and solve a problem, if you don't have the disposition to like attempt to tackle a problem, then it doesn't really matter what skills or competencies or strengths you have. So yeah, I hope you guys have a good night or day. This was a great time, so bye.